So today, we're going to break that down. What actually separates Myrtle Beach from Florida once you're living here. It's a conversation I have almost weekly. We're deciding between Florida and the Grand Strand. And on the surface, they look very similar. Coastal lifestyle, warm weather, no more snow. But here's where it gets interesting. Most buyers think they're comparing home prices. They're comparing how expensive their life feels after they move. Because what doesn't show up in the search is usually what determines whether the move actually works or not. Things like insurance, taxes, and just daily friction. After walking a lot of buyers through this, I've noticed decision usually comes down to two things: how predictable your monthly costs are and how easy your day-to-day life feels. So today, we're going to break that down. What actually separates Myrtle Beach from Florida once you're living here. So let's start with the obvious. Florida has no state income tax. Now, quick note, I am not an advisor, a tax advisor, nor am I an insurance broker, but this information that is easy to verify. And more importantly, it's what I see play out with buyers every day. For high earners or retirees with distributions, that no income tax structure can be a real advantage. But here's where things start to shift a little bit. Florida has to make up that revenue somewhere. And in practice, that often shows up through higher property taxes, local sales variations, and slightly higher insurance costs. In South Carolina, we do have state income tax, but we also have one of the more favorable property tax structures, especially for primary residents. And if you're 65, the homestead exemption can significantly reduce that even further. So the real question becomes, is a 5% income tax more impactful than a 10 to 15 annual insurance bill? That's where this becomes less about tax strategy and more about what I call the math of ease. So for many buyers, South Carolina becomes something that Florida doesn't have right now: predictability. And when your monthly numbers are predictable, your decisions tend to feel a lot more clear. This brings us to what I often call the biggest differentiator: insurance. So in Florida, the insurance market is still in transition. Where this tends to show up later is when buyers realize the affordability of a property comes with rising premiums or unexpected special assessments tied to the insurance increases. Now in Myrtle Beach, yes, we are still a coastal market. We respect the wind, the flood, and the storm exposure. But overall, the insurance landscape here remains more stable and accessible. And this matters more than most buyers expect, because it directly impacts your exit strategy. So if you buy today, you want to know that 5 or 10 years from now, the next buyer can comfortably carry that property. When insurance costs and HOA fees climb too high, they can quietly limit your resale pool. So thoughtful buyers don't just look at the insurance as a bill, they look at it as a factor in their exit plan. And we're seeing it more and more with buyers who choose the Grand Strand specifically because they want to avoid what they call insurance fatigue in Florida. So now let's step outside the numbers, because the cost of living also includes your time and your energy. Florida operates as a 12-month market. That sounds appealing until you're navigating peak season in extreme heat and humidity. So it's very hot. Now Myrtle Beach has seasons too, and they're mild, but they do create a natural rhythm. That shows up in ways people don't always expect: utility usage, system wear, and even how often you're running your AC. There's also what I call the density factor. So in many Florida coastal areas, population density has increased to the point where everyday tasks like groceries, errands, and even dining come with more friction. Here, we still have that space, and that space translates into ease. So the question becomes, what is a frictionless day worth to you? Because when buyers choose Myrtle Beach or the Grand Strand over a dense Florida market, they're often trading for a noticeable increase in daily comfort. So choosing between the Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach, and Florida isn't about finding a cheaper option. It's about finding the one that aligns on how you want to live financially and even day to day. Florida offers energy and intensity. Myrtle Beach offers predictability and balance. If you're comparing both and trying to make sense of the numbers, I've put together a cost of living guide that breaks this down more clearly for the Grand Strand. And if you'd like to walk through that specific scenario, whether it's a primary home or even a second property, I'm always happy to help you think that through. Like there's definitely no pressure and just clarity. I'm Lori Lee Mendieta with Century 21, the Harrelson Group, and I look forward to helping you make a confident decision here in the Grand Strand. We'll see you next time.